Hello, and welcome back to another panel conversation this week. I'm Melissa Crook, your host. I'm calling this Together We Feel because I think that is such a powerful way to look at this conversation as we bring women together, talking about the things that impact how we feel, how we find empowerment, how we embrace all of our beautiful, complex layers. And today's topic is body responsibility. And we're going to get into what that means in a minute. I've got Kim Mosiman, Rachel Lavin, and Amy Donovan here with me today. You've met them all before if you've seen or listened to our panel conversations on our radio show that we had in 2024. And I'm bringing them back here in 2025 because they just have so much wisdom and passion for women's health and wellness. And it comes from such an authentic place. And after we finished recording our January 6th episode that you all got to listen to 2 weeks ago, if you haven't, it's right here on our YouTube channel. Go visit. New Year, Take Care of You. Kim and Rachel were just adamant that we had to have a conversation about body responsibility. And I knew from my conversations with Amy that she'd be interested in this too. And we hear a lot right now and have for centuries about what our bodies as women are supposed to look like, supposed to in quotes. We've been getting narratives from the culture, from men, from everyone else outside of us, our parents, and all that got handed down to them through the generations of what we're supposed to look like, what size we're supposed to be, what healthy is. When the fact of the matter is, healthy is a very individual discussion. It's a very individual conversation based on genetics, based on your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, your sexual health. All those things matter. And what matters is that you take time to take care of yourself. You fuel your body in a healthy way. You move your body in a healthy way. And you take care of your mind. You take care of your spirit. And if you're doing all those things, whatever you look like is whatever you look like. That's what you were built to be. But this obsession we have with everybody's got to be this thin and this size is the most unhealthy thing that's out there. And now there's listen, we talked about this before we started recording. There's been some sort of diet pill for this, pill for that regarding your weight, plans that restrict and constrict and try to manage your food intake, your calorie intake for years. And we've been trying to fit ourselves into this box for years. And 9 times out of 10, none of those things work long-term. They aren't designed to work long-term. They're designed to keep you on them forever and keep feeding this machine that makes money off of our insecurities about what we've been told our bodies are supposed to look like, rather than just trying to encourage each of us to be healthy. And so we're going to dive into that today. We're going to dive into what's out there right now. Ozempic is a big one that we hear right now. Ozempic is actually for people that have diabetes. But instead of being marketed to those that are diabetic that may actually need this, it's been marketed as this wider, broader weight loss miracle drug with really no full understanding of the long-term results other than the fact that if we go off this, the weight will come back. So it's not allowing us to just enjoy our life and trust ourselves to feed and fuel ourselves the way that feels authentic and healthy to us. And it's, again, like a continuation of us trying to fit into a narrative about what we should look like instead of, again, encouraging us. Like a couple weeks ago, we said, New Year, take care of you, all the parts of you. And I know my guest today feels so strongly about this, and I feel strongly about it as well. So I'm going to go around and let each of them introduce themselves and where you can find them. And then we're going to start diving into this conversation and why they feel so passionate about coming to you with this information today. So we have Rachel, Lavin, Kim Mosiman, and Amy Donovan. Rachel, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself first?
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate always being included in conversations that are just near and dear to my heart. But I am a 25-year veteran in the fitness and wellness space. I've been a personal trainer, a group exercise instructor, a health coach. And the past 5 years, I've really had my attention and my energy focused on helping women walk back to who they really are, have a better relationship with themselves, and focus more on being happy than the size of your body. And in doing so, I realized having conversations with women of every kind of culture, every kind of financial background, every kind of place in this world, that the one thing that is similar across the board is I felt this way my whole life. And I think that it's important to understand that women, it's just not just we wake up one day and I'm not worth anything. I don't love my body. I take up too much space. This is something we have felt since childhood, all of us. And so what better way to understand those feelings is you have to go back to your childhood and you have to understand where those feelings, or what was that traumatic experience, or what was that thing that you heard on repeat from your mother that has formulated these thoughts and feelings. It's not just a one-off. It's something that we have dealt with. And we have to realize that and understand that we are programmed to believe that I'm not good enough because I'm in this body. And that's where we need to start unpacking these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Kim, give us a little background on you, why you care so much about this conversation.
Oh gosh. I've got so much to say about this. I just don't even know where to begin. But I ran a gym for a long time, and I opened the gym. I'm a nutritionist and a personal trainer and a wellness coach. And I opened the gym after I caught the bug. I had been feeling crummy about myself after having my kiddos, and started a program. And it was more than just the size. I loved how strong I felt. But all the attention came not because of, oh, look what she can do. It was, oh my gosh, look how she looks. Right. And I worked with people. God gave me this ability to really see what's beautiful in people. And, I would have members walk in the gym. They hated themselves. They had to take a picture and they wouldn't meet me eye to eye. But yet, even if they were maybe at the heaviest they've ever been, I can still see the good. Right. And so I spent 10 years of my life working with people and helping them find the good in themselves and helping them find the joy along the way. But then I closed the gym and I became that person who couldn't identify in myself. And while I ran the gym, I was at the smallest I've ever been as an adult. And all the attention and all the things that looked so good on the outside were killing me on the inside, right? My marriage was suffering because I was at work all the time. I didn't neglect my sons, but they certainly didn't get the best of me. And I'm so worried right now that society is obsessed with the way they look. And so many people are losing weight and they don't know how to be that person. They don't know how to turn off the history that Rachel is talking about. Right? We have all of this stuff packed away. How come someone likes me now when I'm skinny? Or how come someone likes me now? How come my relationship is different with my spouse because I'm skinny? We're just really headed into a place of potential hardship. And
we're gonna get more into that because you opened up a whole, just the relationships piece, I think is so powerful, and that layers piece. So hold on to all of that.
Yep,
We're going to get back to that.
absolutely.
All right. Amy, I invited you into this conversation. When Kim and Rachel brought this to me, I'm like, oh, Amy is going to have a lot to offer to this conversation. So talk to us a little bit about you and why you said yes when I invited you.
So I have been a photographer for 20 years, and my goal in life, through my work life and through my personal life, is always to empower people to feel the best that they can about themselves, to love themselves, whether that's, elderly people in our community who still want to contribute, or whether that's somebody who's standing in front of me as I'm taking their photos. What I have found over 20 years is that you mentioned that people are trying to fit in a box. My thing is that we try to fit in the box, but the box keeps changing. So it's like fashionable to be one way. I'm like 20 years ago, everybody wanted to be as skinny as possible. And now everybody wants to have the booty. They want the vicious curves, but they also want to be like thin through the waist. And now I'm seeing a switch where maybe that's not fashionable anymore. And everybody wants to be thin. And I'm like, this is killing me inside, because I'm watching these beautiful women show up to their sessions, and everybody comes for a different reason. So they're all there for a different reason. But what I find is when somebody finally gets to the point where they almost feel like they're ready to accept themselves, they see something that somebody has pointed out about them, or society has pointed out about them, or they've seen online, where they are no longer what's in. So the closer they are to perfect, and I'm using perfect by like whatever the standard is that the person thinks that is their standard, because everybody is completely different. The closer they are to the perfect and to their ideal, the more they obsess and agonize over what exactly isn't right about them. So Kim, you probably found this in the gym. Rachel, you too. When you everybody's always like 7 pounds from perfect, or they really liked themselves before they lost 50 pounds and are now 50 pounds thinner, but they liked their boobs before and they wish they had their before boobs. So they don't like that anymore. Or they've lost weight, so now their face is too thin and they've got this chin waddle thing happening. It's like we can never get to the point where we actually just look in the mirror and we're like, not only am I good enough, but I freaking like myself. Like, you can't see me, but I have a double chin. And I'm like, you know what? I was a 7-pound baby and I had a double chin at birth. There is nothing I can take, do, run, eat. There is no prescription that's going to take away my double chin. Maybe we could try to cut it off. I'm not sure. And I'm not on that committee. I'm not going to go down that road to try to figure that out. But we just need to give ourselves a break and think, okay, what feels good for me? Am I healthy? And why don't I dress for the body that I currently have? Why don't I cut myself some slack? If I really like pancakes, why don't I have them? Maybe I don't like that at all. Maybe I feel my best when I'm just eating protein. Maybe I feel my best when I am. But it should be, maybe I feel my best when I am whatever, versus, okay, I think I'm doing good. I'm almost good enough. If only I could change this one thing. And because that one thing is sucking the joy out of all of our lives. It's like, today I was at the spa and I said to the ladies who were working, because I'm working on this project. And I was like, what's your favorite part of yourself? And they all were like, everybody's stumbling all over themselves. They can't think of it. And they all they settled on their hair. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. That wasn't what I was going for. And I asked them what their least favorite part was. And they were like this. They had an answer for me before they even thought about it. They already knew, because I'm pretty sure they were thinking my favorite part is, but I really don't like my inner thighs. That's because it came out so quickly. So the project I'm working on is to get around that, but we just need to give ourselves a break and just think about that. We're okay as we are. And it's okay to love ourselves the way that we are.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned something so important to you all. You all had such important things to say in those points, but the moving target piece, that's a big one. And we watch women have surgeries, not only take medications, but have surgeries at very young ages to alter their bodies or plump themselves up.
Yes.
shots or whatever it is to achieve this, whatever the current fad is, to fit. And then what happens when that fad changes? And instead of just meeting ourselves where we are and the world, the culture, everybody accepting each one of us as uniquely, wonderfully, beautifully made as we are, as we were created to be. And so we all feel very strongly about this. We all heard something when we were kids. I heard when I was 16 that my butt was getting too big from my dad, I'm not as fast as a sprinter anymore because my butt's getting too big. Well, joke's on you, buddy. Big butts run faster. You look at any sprinter, they got a butt. So, but those are the things, but those things stick with you. And you all have stories about that. So my next question really is what does body responsibility look like to you? And Kim, I'll start with you on this.
I talk about body responsibility quite a bit in my book. I'm a firm believer that everybody is beautiful and everybody is worthy. But there was a period of time out there. I mean, just like body positivity is an important thing, right? I mean, like we should feel good about ourselves, but we cannot be irresponsible. There's a point in time where your health does hit a plateau. And my whole goal in life is to be healthy. It is not to be a size 5 or size 6 or whatever it is. It is not to be measurable. I want to be healthy, right? And I guess that is measurable with tests and, is my cholesterol good? Is my heart rate good? Can I still sit down and get up without assistance? All of those things. That's what I want for my life. So where is my threshold and what is my goal? It's responsibility. I want to be able to take care of myself for as long as humanly possible. Society should not have to take care of that. I shouldn't be dependent on my children. Now, granted, there are times in life where things happen that we have no control over. That's not what I'm talking about. But as we're working towards good health, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're never going to stick with it. And that's where the biggest problem falls in for people is they do things that are unsustainable. And I just think if we would start talking more about body responsibility and good health, this world would be a much better place.
Yeah.
A lot more happy people, right?
Exactly. And because I think here's the problem. Good health for so many people is decided by a scale rather than how is your muscle? How strong are you? What's your muscle composition look like? How is your mental health? How is your emotional health? What kind of activities are you engaging in that motivate you? What fires you up to get up in the morning? Are you engaging in that? How are your relationships? What kind of people do you surround yourself with? Do they feel as passionately about your overall wellness as you do? Or are there some voices that are more harmful than helpful that you need to create some boundaries around? I mean, there's just how our health is such a bigger conversation than we make it. And some of the unhealthiest people I know might have a quote unquote great pant size according to society, but they are not healthy. They are not happy. Right. And so I think we have to really reframe this overall health conversation. And, going back to Amy has some great examples, and she's talked to us about this on other shows where her doctor has said over and over again, your blood work is great. Your labs are fantastic. You are agile. You are fit. You are flexible. You can move. I don't want to hear about your weight anymore. Quit defining yourself by that. You're healthy. I'll tell you when there's a problem. And it's most likely not going to be related to what you think it's going to be related to. So on that, Amy, I want to give you a chance to talk to me about what body responsibility means to you.
I feel like our weight size does not define our worth. And as a collective, I think we're kind of programmed to think that the smaller we are, the more worthy we are of all things. And whether we want to believe that or not, it's always that kind of person that we look to as the authority on how to look after ourselves. So I because we're only given the one body and it's our job to look after that one body that we're given, I think that we need to look inside ourselves and think, okay, so nutritionally, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And not necessarily, I'm just going to anecdotally say, 10 years ago, I lost 80 pounds and I was following the brand name program that we're all very familiar with. And I was an absolute, I got down to a size 6, I think it was. And so I'm in a size 6 dress and everything should be great. I looked amazing, but inside I was absolutely miserable because my entire existence now didn't revolve around whether or not my pants were going to button up in the morning. It was based around, was I going to have enough points to last me through the end of the day? So it changed my mental focus, not to am I fueling myself the way that I should, versus am I going to meet the goal of this program that I'm following? And am I going to be okay because of that? And if I'm not okay, am I going to be judged next Thursday when I hop on the scale in front of people? And I did really well. And it was almost as though the weight was falling off me. So I was the one to watch. And that was celebrated. When I internally, that's all I could think about. I wasn't making decisions based on, do I feel good in this moment? Is this actually providing me the nutrition that I need? Is this enhancing my life in any way? All I was focused on was, I'm the one to watch. Everybody's looking to me. I need to follow inside the guidelines of this program, and I need to get this weight off as fast as possible. So I did. All the weight came off. It was amazing. I was at, pretty close to my goal weight, but inside I was absolutely in turmoil. I did not feel any better about myself because that's all I was focused on. Mm-hmm. So we need to be responsible with what we're doing in the way that our bodies need to be taken care of, but it's equally important to mentally look after ourselves while we're trying to put ourselves in the box. And, if the box keeps shrinking, that's fine. But if it's soggy and gross at the end, that's not going to do anybody any good. It certainly didn't help my family. It didn't make anybody feel any better, about themselves, because I should have felt better about myself, when in the end, I really didn't. And Melissa, I've shared with you before, it literally took one comment from my mother, and it was an innocuous comment. She literally has no idea she even said that to me, but I'm standing in the dressing room at the dress bar, and one thing she said to me, I was like, who am I doing this for? And it was somebody hit rewind on the tape, and I feel like I flew back from the same vacation, having gained back all of the weight. I don't remember when the 80 pounds came back. It came back like that. But mentally, I wasn't looking after myself because I was so focused on just making sure that my waist size was smaller than it was, than it ever had been. I was becoming somebody that I didn't know, because I've struggled my whole life as becoming somebody that I didn't know. And while I was becoming that person, I wasn't, I didn't say to myself, hey, let's check in. Are you good with who you are and what's happening now? And nobody else did either, because all that was happening is everybody was clapping their hands because, yay, how exciting, you're smaller. And it was not responsible, nor was it maintainable. And it's an experience that I actually advocated today for somebody to not do that exact thing. I was like, hell no, just cancel it now. Can we just talk about it for a minute before you get into that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that you brought up some such important points. What we don't talk about enough, and I think, and I'll say it, I blame the medical industry on this as a whole, not collective doctors. There are individual doctors, yours is an example, that do very well. But collectively as a whole, the medical industry likes to point to weight for things that are individual. For some person, it might be an issue. For another person, it may not be at all. What we don't talk enough about is what anxiety and depression and fear does to our blood pressure, does to our cortisol levels, does to our hormone levels, in our serotonin levels, and how those impact our wellness, our heart health, all those kinds of things. And we don't look at the whole thing holistically. There's no, it's just so microscopic, this one thing. And as if this one thing is, and this one way of being, when so many of our bodies are not built to be that way. Some bodies are built to be this big, but then I know women that are that way that are like, I wish I had hips. I wish I had boobs, which goes back to that we can never seem to find
Absolutely.
that happy place because there's so much focus on what should be rather than what is and what is healthy for all of us. I mean, I think there's just so much, again, going to that moving target you talked about earlier. Rachel, talk to me about what body responsibility looks like and feels like to you. And also, too, why you you and Kim felt so passionately about talking about these drugs that are out there and the unknowns that go with them.
Absolutely. I mean, although I completely 100% agree with everything Amy and Kim said. And by the way, Amy, you and I had that same experience about, the whole being the smallest I've ever been and being completely miserable. So I relate to that a lot. And it makes me happy to hear other women say that because I don't think we understand as women what we're doing to ourselves. And so for me, body responsibility means all those things that you guys talked about, but it also means stepping out of our comfort zone and really looking at the ingredients of the foods and the things that we're putting in our bodies and understanding that going to the gym is not about how my body is going to look different. It's about I am doing the best I can for myself for as long as I can. Because like Kim said, I'm not trying to be, in my golden years stuck in a hospital bed. I mean, again, I know I have no control over my future, but it is my responsibility on a daily basis to drink my water, to eat my whole foods, to move my body, to make sure that I don't have too much stress in my life and to deal with things. I think that is the saddest thing in our society today. And I hope to goodness that in 2025 that we can all bring some awareness to the fact that every medical profession, everything, you don't have to be in this pain, right? They tell us that all the time. You don't have to be in pain. Just take this, just do that, just eat this. And it's like, yeah, pain is not great, but pain is an indicator that you need to deal with something, whether it's pain in your body or pain in your heart or pain in your mind. That is a message system that we have learned how to ignore. And that's, for me, what I want to bring back to this society and to the women today and the women I work with. It's like you spent your whole adult life getting high and doing all these things because you didn't want to feel anything. And that's why you're here. So knowing that dealing with that pain is uncomfortable, but it's momentary. And the more you get those skills on how to self-soothe yourself and how to ask for help and how to deal with this pain, it's momentary. And I think that we don't believe that anymore. So for me, my body responsibility is taking care of myself, body, mind, and soul, and understanding that not every day is going to be easy, but every day I should be able to feel some semblance of love for myself. And that is what I'm hoping that we can get there.
Yeah. I love what you brought up here. It's so true. And I talk about this all the time on the podcast of feeling our feelings. I feel very strongly about the fact that there are no good feelings or bad feelings, no negative emotions or positive emotions. There are those feelings that are difficult to feel. There are those feelings that are hard to feel, but that doesn't make them bad or good. that makes them clues and indicators that there's something there. And the same goes with pain. And those pain can be associated with those feelings. It's a clue to let us know something needs to be dealt with. Something needs to be walked out. Something needs to be processed, moved through, and learning some techniques to heal from, rather than just masking and stuffing and throwing to the side and getting rid of. And I found this for years. Anxiety is a companion of mine. And for years, I just wanted to get rid of it all the time, instead of listening to what it was that it was trying to tell me that needed to be healed, what it was rooted in, why that triggered me. And so I've been on a journey since the fall of 2019 to do that, to feel those things, to move through those things, to process those things, to see the whole picture of my health. And in Western society, it's very difficult. In my opinion, your medical practitioner and your therapist should have a direct phone line to each other, because a lot of what you're going through mentally and emotionally impacts you physically. And so instead of going to the doctor and your blood pressure might be high that day, they will have had a conversation with your therapist, be like, I can see why that might be up right now. You're processing some really tough stuff, rather than just trying to throw a pill at you, or looking at the XYZ level, your cholesterol or whatever, and be like, well, or if you lost some weight, that might help. Is that just your easy answer? What I've never, or is that what's actually going on? Because what I'm hearing more and more these days is that stress is the number one problem for people. Well, what brings up stress? Stress comes up partly by us trying to live outside of ourselves and who we're meant to be, outside of how we were made, outside of what we were called to be, connected to, active in, part of, all those things. And so 100% off of what Rachel said, just, pulling back those layers, those pieces, those voices in your head. We so many times treat our thoughts like truth, and they're thoughts. And sometimes they're true, but sometimes they're tied to old, tired narratives that need to be unpacked, dismantled, and healed from, and put away, because they're not meant for us. They're not, when I look around at all the people I know, all the amazing, incredible women I know, and how many of us battle these battles because of these narratives and scripts. You guys hear me talk about the scripts all the time. And part of the script is how you're supposed to look. And it's just it's such a dangerous, slippery slope. And little girls get this message so early. And it doesn't lead anywhere healthy or good if we don't have active adults in our lives to help us unpack it and process it in a healthy way. And so many of our parents and mothers meant well, but they got the same garbage from the generation before them. And so it's really on us now to break that generational pattern, to break that generational trauma. Some of us in the group have daughters where we've been very committed to talking to them differently than we were talked to make sure they feel empowered to not continue these narratives. I know Amy and I have talked about that specifically. And so I think from here, I want to give each of you a chance to ask each other questions about things that have come up that you heard that prompted you. I saw some of you taking notes. So let's go ahead and Kim, let's start with you on that.
So much that everyone has said just rings true. It's crazy how we can be in all corners of the country and all different backgrounds and all different ages and be experiencing the same thing. I think the thing that I'd like to know from both Amy and Rachel, because I know I dealt with it in my own practice and I still deal with it with coaching clients. We live in a society that's we can fix whatever we want to fix quickly, right? we can have what we want, but we can't, it's not always the best thing for us. Right. And so how do you work with your clients, and what do you tell them when, things aren't going fast enough, if you will?
Go ahead, Amy.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I love that question because I think I'm still evolving in that practice because it's so important, even though I have very strong beliefs about a lot of things. I have to understand that if I get this look when I'm saying you don't have to diet ever again, you can eat what you want, and they're looking at me like, I have to instantly stop, and I have to meet you where you're at and be like, okay, how is this information impacting you? What are you willing to do? Do you want to stay in the same place for another year? Like, I have learned to ask questions that nobody asked me, right? It was just like, this is how you do it. This is how you lose weight. We have been taught this since I don't know how old. Eat less, move more. That is literally the only handbook women are ever given, instead of what's your stress like? What's your sleep like? Are you in a healthy relationship? All those questions impact our body weight. And that's now the message I give. It's like, you're not just 10 pounds heavier because you're eating a pancake once a week. Like, you have to take a look at your whole being. So that's how I'm choosing to handle it.
Yeah. And for Amy, you photograph women all the time. And so I think Kim would really love to hear about that piece of just kind of how you see women evolve through the process, like from the time you get them in the first picture to the end.
Well, and if I can jump in real quick, what you say to them when they're like, well, can you make me look skinny? Or can you take 25 pounds off of me? Right? Because everybody holds the camera a certain way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are all only accustomed to seeing ourselves from the angle that is slightly above our head and off to the right or the left, depending on what you perceive to be your good side. So when somebody says to me, can you make me? I always say no. Like, you are amazing just as you are. We're going to pose you and light you so that you see the best possible version of you. But I'm not going to alter your body, because when you see these pictures, you want to look like you. Like, the goal here is to have you look like the best version of yourself. And so when I started my business, I just need to go back a little bit. Most of my clients did these as gifts for men, like for their partners. And I've actually, since Melissa, you and I spoke, this has come to light with a second person.
Oh, wow.
It's from years ago, but she was brave enough to tell me the other day.
Wow.
Just the husbands were just not as excited as the women thought that they probably should be about the gift that they were giving them. And the pictures were absolutely beautiful. They absolutely loved them. And then because of the husband's reaction, it took the wind out of their sails. They felt a certain kind of way. They didn't feel like they were good enough. The person that they saw in the pictures was beautiful, but they hadn't linked it up with that being the person. So the first thing when somebody contacts me is that they want to do the photos as a gift for X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, so we can do photos, but the photos have to be for you. I actually don't care what you do with them after, but the whole experience has to be for you, and you can give them to whoever you want. You put them on the internet, you can sell them. I don't care. But the pictures, this experience is for you. And that changes things. Mm-hmm. So I no longer have people coming in wearing lingerie that so-and-so picked out and thought that they looked good in. They feel good and strong in the outfits that they're wearing. And so as I'm telling them what to bring, what to wear, it's bring something that makes you feel good, not bring something that you think looks sexy, or, Johnny thinks is really hot, or he picked out for you, or he really likes leopard or red or whatever he's into. It has to be for you. And then everybody comes through the door and every single client tells me that they don't like their stomach. It's like a whole conversation. And every time I'm like you and every other person I've ever taken photos of doesn't like their stomach. Nobody likes their stomach. So we're just going to we have addressed this now. And this is huge. When I started saying this, it changed a lot of things. I was like, okay, so we've addressed that you don't like your stomach. And sometimes they also don't like other things and they'll tell me. Like you've told me now, we don't need to talk about that again. So we no longer talk about your stomach. But what I need you to do now is tell me what you really like about yourself. And so we will play to that. If it is your eyes or your hair or, whatever your favorite thing is, we're going to focus on that. And your stomach is going to be in the picture, but it's not going to be the focus. Never have I focused on somebody's belly button for photos. You need to trust that I know what I'm doing. And once I say that, they kind of relax into it. It makes them think about what they actually do like. And it always takes a long time for people to think about what they like. And I think the more we focus on having people think about what's good, the less they spend time thinking about what's bad. And it really shifts the way that the session goes. And I'm going to go next with asking the questions. And I think I'd like to ask the three of you guys what it is that you like best about yourselves.
I can start. I love my eyes. I have a really cool bluish aqua ocean kind of color eyes. That's always been one of my favorite things. And I also really love my butt. It's strong and it's strong. And I've done a lot of, I have very good lower body strength. My upper body strength, I have to work on more, but I've got really good lower body strength, and it's allowed me to lift and carry boxes and loved ones and people and things in my life and that I'm thankful for. So those are my two things. Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, I am. I too. Yes, I love my eyes. It's my number one, but I also have really great legs, and no matter what size I am, I still have really great legs, and they carry me. I'm still able to crawl around on the ground with my grandsons and play, and they're strong. And I just have to share quick. I love this. There's a whole section in my book about wells and betters and what you want to work on and what you love about yourself. And I just think this is so important. So yay, Amy. All right, Rachel.
Okay. Well, I've always loved my hair. I think I have very shiny hair, but I can't steal, even though I do love my strong legs, I'm going to say I love my strong shoulders. I feel like I've always been a swimmer, a gymnast, a dancer. So I will say this, it was a transformation for me because I always thought I would joke about it, but I was serious. Say my man shoulders or put myself down about how, I have broad shoulders. And one day I just said, you know what? I'm going to change that narrative. And I'm going to say, I have strong shoulders. I can lift probably a human being. I know I can lift boxes and I can lift other things. So I'm not going to do that anymore. So I'm going to say my shoulders.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Good job. You guys didn't panic.
Yeah. I loved how everyone was ready and not uncomfortable with the response.
Well, that's because we've done the work. Trust me. If we were to ask somebody who had not given that any thought, it would have been, it used to be hard for me. I mean, I remember those days where I couldn't come up with anything. So it takes some time and some practice to say nice things about yourself.
Yeah. I've had thousands of clients come through my gym. And that was one of the questionnaires on my intake form. It's name 3 things you love about yourself. And it was always
blank.
The question that was left blank. Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Wow.
Okay, ladies, I'm sorry, Kim. Okay.
No.
So my question for you ladies is, just like Melissa had brought up in the beginning of our conversation, we have very high profile celebrities toting the Wegovy's and the Ozempics as weight loss medication, not even the miracle drug. It's medication now. Are you in your practice open to, if somebody comes to you and says, this is my final hope, this is my only hope, this is the only thing that I feel like is going to help me? Are you in a place where can walk next to somebody and let them have that experience? Or are you just going to poo-poo it and be like, no, don't do it? I'm curious.
I'd like to jump right in.
Okay.
I will walk beside someone because I think sometimes people have battled these feelings their whole life, and this has now given them hope. And I would never be the person to take away the hope. But if I'm going to walk alongside you on this journey, I want you to be ready for whatever comes. What happens if the medicine goes away? I'd love if as you feel better in your body and stronger in your body, and you're not carrying maybe as much weight as you have, or if your blood sugars were out of whack and you didn't feel good about yourself, I would hope that you would take that new body and you would move it, and you would learn to cook, and you would do the things. Some people have done all those things all along, right? They've eaten right and they've exercised and not changed. And so this to them feels like a godsend. But I would always caution someone that it shouldn't be your only. You shouldn't just lose weight and say, I'm healed, right? Because there's so much to good health that doesn't have anything to do with weight.
Right.
So
I love that answer. I love it. What about you, Amy?
I feel like I'm in a different place to answer that question because so many of my clients are on that journey and they're all in different places with it. I've had clients come who have used those products and have lost a significant amount of weight, and they feel like they're walking on sunshine. Like it's done wonders for them and how they feel about themselves. And my little secret is that my medical degree is still in the mail. So, I don't know that it's ever going to get here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. But what I do know is that the people who are using it and apparently using it responsibly and who are having success with it feel better about themselves. And if they have access to it, whether I think that they should use it or not is not anything that needs to be considered, because the person whose certificate did show up in the mail, I am hoping is being responsible in giving it to them, and then is watching what's happening. We don't know what's going to happen long term, but there are lots of things we put in our body that we don't know what's going to happen with it long term either. I have, so my job is not to judge whether people are taking it or not. I personally, everything I take makes me nauseous. So I don't take anything. So I won't take it because I'm sure that would make me nauseous. And I'm like, I'm not even going to try it. I already know. And also my doctor wouldn't give it to me if I asked for it because we already went down that road. So I can't have it. We're just going to say I can't have it. And it is totally up to, grown up citizens who have autonomy over their own body to decide if that's a risk or a blessing that they want to take on. It might be amazing. There may not be two heads growing out of people for having taken it, or in the end, all the weight might come back, and we don't know. But I feel like the worst feeling in the whole world is feeling hopeless. And so many people get into a spot when they're thinking about their weight or their health or their appearance where they feel like they're hopeless. And if taking an injection or whatever they need to do makes them feel hopeful, then that's what I want for them. I want them to feel good about themselves. And conversely, I see people who, have been really thin and come to me because they've gained weight back because they know that they are like me and they are just happier in the body that they already had. But that's a journey that each person needs to go on their own. And it truly is it's not my job to judge. And whatever they decide for themselves is what's best for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, I'm I would ask all the questions. What has your doctor said? What does your blood work look like? I don't lose track of your mental health in this. What is your why behind it? My first question would be, what is your why behind it? Is your why for you and your expectations of yourself and your feelings and your boundaries and your care and values, or is it for somebody else? Because if you're doing it for somebody else, I want you to revisit it. If you're doing it for you, I'm here with you. I just want to make sure you're looking at all things. We're going to keep moving our bodies together. I want to make sure you're filling your body with nutrients. You aren't starving yourself, and you're giving yourselves what you need. You're engaged in activities that nourish you. I mean, I'm gonna look at your whole health picture, and you focus on this. I'm gonna bring up other things that I see in the process. And as long as I don't see you going downhill mentally and emotionally, I don't see you sacrificing things that you are passionate about, being engaged in to do this thing. If I don't see you sacrificing your other parts of your health for this, I'll be your biggest fan, because I think it goes back to that. Everybody's body is different. Everybody's struggle is different. Everybody's body responds differently. And so, I think I would just be like, are you asking the questions? And then I'd revisit that and just make sure that they are engaged holistically. If they determine the why is mine, it is not my partners, it is not my kids, it is not my coworkers, it is not my Instagram following, it is for me, then I'd be like, all right, let's do this. But let's move our bodies together well. Let's make sure you're doing let's journal about this. Let's write down the emotions you're feeling on a regular basis so we can extract and make sure that it's not impacting you in those other ways and creating more anxiety and more, I would be very like holistic and layered in my approach.
How about you, Rachel?
I've had to kind of go through my emotions about it because I do feel so strongly about it. But over the holidays, I watched a couple of documentaries on it and just watched people who were a lot like us, who just have been in bigger bodies their whole life and always focus on being in the smallest body. And for them, it was a glimmer of hope. And for them, it was a last chance. And even though I kind of see the emotion behind that and they weren't really addressing that, I have to realize that there were times when I felt that way. Like this diet has to work. This one has to get me to this place. So that's what I kind of attached to, was like, oh, okay, I remember that. And I remember that nobody could talk me out of it. So why be that person who is just adding to their stress and angst about it, instead of like, hey, let's try it. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. But can we at least have all the information that we know so far? So I think that's why I asked the question, because I think it's going to get bigger before it goes away. So I think all of us as health professionals are going to get at least one person or know someone who's on it. So I didn't want to come from a judgy place. I really wanted to come from an empathetic, compassion place, because even though it wasn't around when I was at my dieting craze, if it was, I would have done it. I know that. So I don't want to judge people, but I also want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it goes back to that whole health piece. I mean, and what is healthy for you? And for me, it's just so strongly rooted in what is your why behind this, I think. And Kim, you were going to say something.
It's just so many people think that when I reach the promised land, my whole life's going to be great. When I weigh XYZ, when I fit in my prom dress, when I get the job, when I find a boyfriend, all the things, right? Yeah. Whatever the thing is, people really truly believe when they get there, life will be grand. And for me, when I reached the size 4, Did I look great? Absolutely. Was I strong too? Yes, because I did it through diet and exercise, and it was my job. So I did it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But my whole life wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
You know, my marriage problems didn't go away because I was a size 4.
Yeah.
You know, my kids weren't smarter because I was a size 4. And just the things. So I really think it's important that we as professionals and especially those of us who work with women, well, men too. Men have the same mental thing going on. They just understand that, yes, be healthy. Yes, be strong. Yes, lose weight. But it's not the fix-all. There's so many parts of who we are that don't involve the size of our pants.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. And then, Amy, I want to ask you, what are your favorite parts about you?
Yes.
Oh, definitely my eyes. I've got really cool hair. I have a really welcoming smile, I think.
Mm-hmm.
My skin's pretty good. Like, there's nothing, I don't love my inner thighs, but I really like my legs. And that's like, I think overall I'm pretty good. And, like, I like myself just as I am. I mean, I'm on a health journey now because I know that I'm carrying some inflammation, and I feel really good about myself, you know, as I'm making progress with that. But I'm in a place in my life where I'm losing weight for my health currently, because I know, I mean, I'm 43 and I'm pretty good. My numbers are really good right now. But I'm not going to be blessed enough that that's going to continue for forever and ever and ever. Eventually the extra weight is going to put more pressure on my hips, and I have a very active job and whatever. But I like myself the way that I am right now. And it took a long time to get to say that. But I think in saying that, when, like, I just, ladies, when you were very focused on losing weight and getting to be smaller, were you wanting to be smaller for your own self? Like, what about you in your own minds that made being smaller? Was that ever really about you? Like, how did you think that was going to make you more worthy if you were smaller? Or did you want to be smaller because you thought that other people's opinions of you would be different because you were smaller? Because to me, my weight has never, ever been something that I dwelled on account of I didn't think that I was good enough because this is the size I am. You know, but I was always made to feel like I was less valuable because I was more than, you know, I was bigger than everybody else. So, like, I always wonder from other people's perspectives, and this is like, it could be a whole different conversation, but were your weight loss goals tied to you? And what did you think was going to be the prize when you got to where you were going? When you got to size 4, Kim, like, what did you think was going to change? Or was it more tied to society was going to think that you were better? And society could be your family or your mother or your sisters or whoever.
I wanted to know that I could do it. I was an athlete as a child and a teenager, and I was very fit. I just thought I should be able to get back there. I thought I should have the fortitude to do what I had to do to be the way I was before I had babies, right? But then I got there, but when I started gaining weight, and maybe Rachel, you could speak to this, but I felt like a hypocrite. I felt like, here I am. I'm supposed to be the expert. I'm supposed to be able to tell you how to eat and how to move your body to be your best you. And here I am gaining weight. I'm the expert. Why do I look like this? So I wanted to lose weight the second time around just because I felt like a fraud. And I had to realize that I'm not any different than I was before. I just am in a bigger box.
Yeah.
You're a bigger gift.
Yeah.
So then that's how you felt. But when I'm walking that back mentally, I'm like, she felt that way because she was afraid that other people's opinions of her were going to be that she wasn't an expert in her field because of the body that she was carrying herself around in, that her knowledge was less valuable because of her outsides.
Because of
What about you, Rachel?
the parameter, I won't throw in the parameter we put her on and what fit's supposed to look like. Because we don't take into consideration the whole package.
But what the dang Women's World magazine is okay.
Exactly.
I think the thing that I was taught was that I was never taught that my body, it's okay to be different. I had to look like this or this. So for me, your question is both. My answer is both. I think I put this pressure to be this, and then I gave my power away to anyone who would sit still, that I gave them the permission to have opinions about my body. And so that became my truth. I mean, it was literally just an ever confusing and stressful and anxiety producing thoughts that were going on in my head. Well, I'm fat. He's not going to love me. But what do you think about my body? Do I need to? I mean, it was just like every single moment of every single day was focused on this being said out loud and then someone else's opinion. So then all that stuff would just be on a continuous loop, and it was exhausting.
And, quite honestly, society doesn't make it easy to be bigger. You can't just walk into any store and find the cute clothes in any size.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
But, and why does one brand get to make a size 6 different than another brand size 6?
That's the other thing.
There's not standards.
No.
And so it's like, oh, this doesn't fit me. Yeah. I mean, like, buying clothes is just like my least favorite thing ever.
I will make it so much easier on you. I don't buy anything with zippers on it anymore. If it doesn't pull up, forget it. I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. I found
the same way about buttons.
Yes.
Buttons for me.
Yeah. I found a really great brand, and they're my first go-to anytime I need something.
Yeah.
I think jeans are the worst. Right?
Jeans are the worst.
They are the worst.
Jeans are the worst. Yeah.
But I mean, like having a menopause body now, which is another new thing that I get to deal with, is so interesting.
Yeah.
So I have given up that anxiety of the clothes because I cannot change my changing body, right? I mean, I can only take care of it on a daily basis. And my body is going through some weird stuff right now that I have no control over. And so I'm not going back to that feeling of nothing fits. I can't wear. I'm not doing that to myself. I'm just not.
Yeah.
So buying brands of clothing that make that transition so much easier. Thank you, Good American, for pull-on jeans or pull-on pants or whatever. Thank you. And I think also, too, letting go of what the size on the tag says.
Yeah.
Like this T-shirt is an extra large. And I don't give a rat's ass because it's cute and I like it. And if it's extra large and that's what size I'm wearing in this particular shirt right now, I'm not giving up that power anymore. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And how you feel in it. Like I was shopping with my daughter last Monday, and all three of my daughters got curves. It is and in various ways. And so jean shopping, they all have their favorite brand, but I was with my youngest in jean shop. She found jeans that worked for her that day. She found jackets that worked for her that day. And the look on her face to find something she felt good in. And I tried on a jumpsuit. It was 70% off. It was like, okay, I'm going to try this on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I look amazing in this. And 5 to 10 years ago, that size on that jumpsuit would have really freaked me out. And I today, the size is like, I look amazing in this. Oh my gosh. And my daughter was like, oh my mom, you have to get that. I don't care if you wear it once a year. You look amazing in that. And I'm like, you're right. I'm going to get this thing today because I feel amazing in it. And I think it just goes back to that. And I'll get back to you, Amy, in a minute to see if they answered your questions. But it's like, when I think about what I'm doing for my body now, it's for my health. It speaks so I can be strong enough to get myself up off the floor 20, 30 years from now if I fall down. I can be strong enough and fit enough to be wrestling with my grandkids whenever they come along. And whatever I look like in that body is whatever I look like, accepting the fact that your metabolism drops like a freaking rock when you go through menopause. And you have to adjust to that and figure out how to fuel yourself differently. And it doesn't look like what I thought it would look like. It looks like incorporating weights into my life and making sure I'm getting a lot of protein and getting the right kind of fats and carbohydrates. It's not a limitation thing. It's a fueling process. And making sure that I'm getting what I need to be strong. I mean, for me, that's really my focus. What do I need to be strong? And feel good about that. And really releasing sizes and all of those societal, and just like, I am just, my body at this point is not made to weigh the same as I did when I was in my mid 30s. It's just not. And getting back there would not feel good. Like that would, like the thought of getting back to that weight makes me want to throw up. Like it's so unsustainable. It's so, because it doesn't feel good to me. And it feels like it would just be restriction and fear and anxiety, and I'm just not going to go down that road anymore. Yeah, I think let's as we could talk about this all day. Obviously, this is such an important topic, and women need to hear us talking about these things honestly in a way that is relatable and honest and smart and authentic and all those things. But let's go around one more time and just what's a last thought that you want to leave with our listeners today?
I would love to put out in the universe that let this year be different. Let it be open to having a new line of thinking about yourself, about your body, about how you see yourself. I'm kind of piggybacking on what Amy said, but I think that if we go into another year of having the same thoughts, then the change does not follow. So here's a mantra for everyone, and I would take it and use it, but my body is none of your business. So if I could just give that gift to every single woman in the whole world, you are welcome to have it.
Thank you for that. All right, Kim, how about you?
Gosh, I would end with body responsibility is the most important thing, but it's only your responsibility. No one else is going to take care of you. No one else is going to do it for you, right? You have to eat right. No, you have to eat. You have to move. You have to find ways to center yourself. You have to sleep and you have to drink water and you have to find joy. Mm-hmm. And if you can't do those things in a way, you can only do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. I'm done feeding people, right? My people are grown. I've got to take care of Kim. And, I'm going to spend 2025 living like I'm on vacation, right? Because when I'm on vacation, I sleep. And when I'm on vacation, I look at the beautiful things all around me. And I pray more and I read more and I eat good food. So yeah, my 2025, I'm going to live like I'm on vacation. And I think if more people would do that, we would get where we want to get. Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What you just said reminds me of something I've heard before is live a life you don't need to take a vacation from. And what that really means is I think feeding all parts of you, feed your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit. Make sure you're engaging in activities that nourish you each day, each week. Make sure you're conscious and aware of the clues your body is sending you, whether it's emotionally or physically, and tend to those. instead of just trying to get rid of them. Pay attention to them, sit with them, be honest with yourself about them, give yourself a ton of grace, be kind to yourself, and think of how you would, things that you would say to your friends, your daughters, and versus what you would say to yourself. You know, if you say something that doesn't sound so great to yourself, ask yourself, is that something I would say to my daughter? Is that something I would say to my best friend? If the answer is no, let's reframe that and let's get into why it is that's popping into your head. Does something need to be unpacked? If you're looking for ways you're not happy with the way you're feeling or your body's looking, what's your why behind that? What is your hope? Is your hope to be stronger, to be healthy? If that's your motivation, that's great. But if it's a societal norm to please somebody in your family, your partner, you might need to think about those relationships. Are you surrounding yourself with people and narratives that are truly for you? And because this journey is a holistic, layered journey. And so I just really want us to look at all parts of that journey. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today in this very important conversation. I feel like this is something we could talk about all the time, every day. Rachel and Kim and Amy's information will be in our show notes. You can look there. It'll also be promoted on our social media. So look to that as well. EmbracingLayers.com has all of our social media links to find out more about these ladies. These YouTube channels have these conversations forever. So if you hear this and you want a friend to know about it, share it with them. It's going to be right here on our YouTube channel. But ladies, thank you so much today for all of your wisdom, all of your authenticity, your vulnerability, your honesty, and being the lights you are in the world. I appreciate all of you so much.
Back at you, Melissa.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. All right.
Absolutely. Bye, ladies. It was awesome.
Right. Together we feel, ladies. Together we feel. Take care. We'll be back in a couple of weeks.